Hi everyone, welcome to a special episode of A Stitch in Time. I'm Carol, also known as Knitsnpurls on Ravelry, and I'm sitting here today at my kitchen table surrounded by numerous knitting projects, past, present, and future. All year long, I have been participating in the 20 in 20 challenge hosted by Lisa of Fiber Nymph Dye Works. It is taking place in the Fiber Nymph Dye Works Ravelry group, so if you're interested in learning more about it, head on over to the Ravelry group and read all the details in the dedicated 20 in 20 threads. Basically, it's a choose your own adventure, year-long knit-along. Some people have chosen to knit 20 specific skeins of yarn or 20 specific patterns or 20 specific works in progress. I took a more integrated approach, and at the beginning of the year I made a list of 20 things I wanted to accomplish knitting-wise in 2020. They included several works in progress, some special skeins of yarn I wanted to knit up, some projects where I'd already matched up the yarn and pattern, and I also wanted to design a sock and design a shawl. In early April, at the end of the first quarter, I sat down and recorded an episode like this. So if you are interested in watching that, I will put the link for it up here. And in it, I reviewed what I had accomplished and looked ahead to what I might want to add to my list. My list actually grew quite a bit, from 20 to 30 something items, in large part because around the same time I went through my large collection of hibernating works in progress and made some decisions about what I wanted to finish and what I wanted to frog. And I'm happy to say that since that time I have completed 3 of my hibernating projects and also have done some work on several others, and I'll show those to you in a minute. Unlike my regular podcast, I am not doing show notes for this episode, but I will down here write the name of the project and the designer, so in case you want to look it up. All of the details about my projects can be found in my Ravelry projects pages. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me either by a private message on Ravelry, by posting a note in this episode's thread in the Ravelry group, or ask a question, or leaving a comment on YouTube. And I will do my best to answer those questions. I've only filmed the intro like 6,000 zillion times. I think that will do. Let's get on with this. I'm hungry and it's time for lunch. One of those hibernating projects are the Vicar's Wife Socks. It is a pattern by Maureen Foulds. The yarn is from Ancient Arts Fingering. I do not remember the colorway. But I had started these as part of a knit along for the Ravelry group for my podcast called the Agatha Christie Along, because the Vicar's Wife is a reference to a character in at the Vicarage, one of Agatha Christie's books. And the cover was this bright pink color, so that's why I chose this yarn. I had knit one sock and then had never cast on the second until just a few months ago, and I know why. It was because a sort of really intricate twisted stitch pattern that runs down the back of the sock. Interestingly enough, and not surprisingly, once I cast on the second sock and started knitting, it was done in a very short amount of time and wasn't nearly as daunting as I imagined it, as is the case so many times when we put things off. But you know, if you're a sock knitter, you know, sometimes you might suffer from second sock syndrome, and this was probably the worst case of that I had experienced. I'm happy to say they are finished now. Another long-term hibernating project was the Arashi Shawl by Sara Morris. This beautiful lace weight silk and alpaca shawl. It's a Faroese design, which means it has this column that runs down the center of the shawl, and then the remainder of the shawl is basically knit like a triangular shawl. And this project was part of a club put out by Abstract Fibers many years ago. They're a hand-dyeing company out of Portland, Oregon. And I think I had got up to maybe about this area, and then it went into hibernation, and so I was thrilled to pull it out and finish it up. So that gives you an idea of the finished shawl. It is so light and airy and just such a gorgeous color. I think it was hibiscus was the colorway name. So thrilled to finish that long-term project also. Probably my crowning achievement as far as old projects go is my Stratosphere by, I did write it down, Sandra Mclver. It is from the book Knitsnpurls, a collection of sweaters that are knit by casting on an octagon, working your way into the center, and then with some magic, knitting a back and sleeves and a collar. Mine is knit from Noro Silk Garden, as was the original Stratosphere, and it's this cozy, drapey, colorful sweater that you can just wrap up in. It's very warm for today, so I will not keep it on for long. But that gives you an idea of what it looks like. I have yet to take finished project photos for this. I know I've got one of it blocking, but one day I will get someone to get a picture of me wearing this. So that's the 3 things I finished that were long-term projects. I also, since the beginning of April, have finished a number of projects. Soaps just dropped one on the floor. I'll get that in a second. That I had started either in the first quarter or started and finished in the second quarter. So one is the Dorsal Socks by Helen Stewart. This was, I think, the last pattern I knit anyway, from the Handmade Sock Society 2, I believe. So I knit it from some Ocean Wind Knits yarn, and it features, basically a stockinette sock features this pattern going up the back of the sock. I also, I'm going to duck down and pick up the project that slid off the chair over there. Since that time, I've also knit the Color Shifting Shawl by Jennifer Fish. This is a Knit Picks pattern, knit in Knit Picks yarn. And as the name suggests, you basically shift from one color to another with a few alternating rows. So it's a very simple lace and garter stitch scarf, triangular scarf. You start off with just a few stitches and then increase every row or every couple rows, till you finish there. Very happy with this. I love these colors. It reminds me of like a impressionist painting. So again, too warm to wear now, but we'll get some more use come the fall. More socks. I have knit these. These are the West Yorkshire Spinner's yarn in the Robin or Christmas Robin colorway. And I knit a coordinating cuff, heel, and toes out of cayenne pepper in the same yarn. So I do indeed have a pair. One of my challenges for 2020 is to participate in the Fiber Nymph Dye Works monthly makes program. And I can't remember all the details. I believe you have to knit 6 skeins of yarn to qualify, in 2 quarters to qualify for a free skein of yarn. Something to that effect. In any case, I had a large stash of Fiber Nymph Dye Works yarn, and I am sort of gradually participating in that. So this is the colorway. It's Wine O'Clock Somewhere. I dubbed these my happy hour socks, both because I cast them on during happy hour one day, but also because I worked on them over numerous happy hours. And so again, I do have a pair. And then Helen Stewart released the 3rd Handmade Sock Society, which I signed up for. And so this is the first, no, it's not the first pattern from this thing, it's the first pattern I knit from it. These are the Ambient socks. This yarn is from Midnight Cravings in the City of Bridges colorway. The contrasting or complementary heel and toe are Afternoon Tea. So again, there's the pair. And then I recently completed another pair of yarn from Fiber Nymph Dye Works. Did I say pair of yarn? I recently completed another pair of socks from Fiber Nymph Dye Works yarn. This is the Chambray colorway, and the complementary heel is in the same yarn in denim. So once again, there's 2. So those are all the finished projects for Q2. I believe there were 9. Yes, 9 in total. So as for works in progress, one of my long-term hibernating projects was this Berry Blue-tiful shawl. You see, it was a project for the Year of Lace Club in 2008. It is a lace stole by Joan Schrouder. And it is knit in 2 halves, and then the 2 halves are grafted together. This is one that I was really tempted to frog. It's knit from this beautiful Helen's lace from Lorna's Laces in a custom dyed color. I believe when I pulled it out of hibernation, I think I was, I had done either, I'm just looking at my project notes here, I had done either 10 or 11 repeats out of 15 for the one side. I know that I've knit 1 more since then, possibly 2, I think just 1. So I have not worked on this a lot, but it's so beautiful. I just could not bear, after all that work, to frog it. When it will get worked on again, I'm not sure, but it has this lovely border that goes around the whole shawl. But it is a complicated pattern. It has numerous pattern charts that you work as you go across each row. And except for purling back, every row is lace, every row is just that little bit different, so it's not intuitive. So you really have to be in the mood. Plus it's on teeny weeny needles and fine yarn. So it's a project you have to really be in the mood to work on. And since completing that pattern repeat, which is a 20 row repeat, I have not pulled it out. It has sat on my love seat until very recently, where I put it away out of sight in my basket of hibernating works in progress. Once again, it's been designated there, but one day I would like to finish it. Another older project that I'm happy to say I have done more work on is the Balvraid hat by Rita Taylor. So that's the only picture I have of it in what it really looks like. It's also done in a stripy version. That might be easier to see what it will look like. It is like a Shetland style hat where you knit a central, or it's a half hat actually. You knit a triangular center of garter stitch. You pick up along the two long edges and knit a portion of lace. And now the stage that I'm at is where I have to cast on some stitches and then work a sideways edging all along that edge of the triangle. So it is being knit in blacker samite. I think this is called Sunless Hours, if I'm not mistaken. It's on the project page. And so I haven't touched it in quite a while. Ever since I completed that second step, I need to pick it back up and add the edging along the side. Spread it out a bit, you might be able to see that lace better. It's kind of like a feather and fan type lace there. So yeah, seeing it again reminds me that I really should pick this up again, because it is a beautiful project. Tuck that back into my bag. This is my Little House on the Prairie bag that I made out of leftover fabric from 3 different quilts that I made out of this Little House on the Prairie themed fabric. One for my sister, one for my daughter, and one for myself. My remaining 3 works in progress that are sort of fairly recent cast-ons are all socks from the Handmade Sock Society 3. So the first of that is the Luminary socks. They're knit from skein yarn in the quill colorway, so it has this really nice textured pattern on the front, just plain on the back. So I have picked up for the gusset. I might even be finished the gusset, but I have not touched these for quite a while. And yet I just love this beautiful navy yarn. It's a very simple pattern, very effective. I really love them. I think part of the theme for this quarter is distraction. I went a little crazy, cast on a bunch of things, and now some of those things I cast on are being ignored while I work on shiny new projects. The second of the socks that I have on the go for that collection are my rainy window socks. And they're in a little bit further along than the Luminary socks, but not much. I actually just pulled these out the other night and did a little more work on them. Similarly, they have a textured panel running up the front and a plain back. These are knit out of hazelnuts yarn, out of a one-of-a-kind skein. Working on them again reminded me of how much I like them and how much I really should finish them. And then my final recent work in progress from the second quarter list are the Cirrus socks, also from the Handmade Sock Society 3, and I have finished one of those. Knit from Fiber Nymph Dye Works in the bounce base in the denim colorway. And I have cast on sock number 2, but as I can see, I haven't even finished the ribbing. So another project that needs some attention. You know, after I cleaned out all my hibernating projects, I was determined not to end up with that many again, and I've failed miserably. So that is it for all of the projects that were on my second quarter 20 in 20 list. Next up, I will show you some new projects that I have cast on since that are going on my third quarter list, and also some upcoming knits. Before I show you some of my newer projects, I'm going to show you a project that's coming off the list altogether. It is Light Ease by Alicia Plummer. I had cast this on out of, you can still see, this is the original top of the sweater. This is from Ancient Arts yarn. And then I alternated 3 skeins of this also. Oh no, actually this is Sweetgeorgia yarns, pardon me. This is the Ancient Arts yarn in the Tea and Biscuits colorway, which I just adore. And the 3 skeins were very different, sort of a light, medium, and dark. Very obvious light, medium, dark. And so I was alternating 3 skeins. I had the whole body done and part of a sleeve, but I tried it on and it was just too big. So I planned to take it back. You can see I've frogged the main body and washed and reskeined those skeins. I was going to take it back to sort of the cast on and rework the yoke in a smaller size and then do the sweater all over again. But I have since decided to knit it into something else. This is my walk along, which is a similar style, has the raglans here, and I recently finished it and really like the fit. And what I may do is a version of this sweater, the Light Ease, something similar out of these yarns. Or I might do the same pattern but do long sleeves or something. I am not sure yet. But the long and the short of it is, this yarn has been frogged. This one will be frogged and washed and reskeined. And this yarn will one day be knit into something else. But it won't be, most likely will not be Light Ease. So I've sort of taken that off my list, taken it off my conscience. So what I'm adding to my 20 in 20 list, first up, I have been knitting a pair of socks out of this sock blank from Isis Fiber Arts. Call them my sunny day socks because of the bright sunshiny yellow and bright turquoisey blue. I have completed one sock. Go. And I am a little ways down the leg of the second. You'll notice that this one is quite bumpy. I have washed and blocked this sock, so when they're done, they will be nice and smooth like that. It's just the nature of working with a sock blank. The yarn is really bumpy when you knit right off the blank. So you can see I'm well on my way with that pair. Another pair that I've been working on of stockinette socks, I gave my husband some 3 skeins of yarn for Father's Day, and that day I cast on his color of choice, which was this gray called Graphite. This is the Cascade Heritage Wave yarn. So I have finished sock number 1, obviously not blocked, you can see the crease here. But I just finished the gusset on the second sock. So these will be my plain stockinette socks until this pair is finished. And then I'll turn back to my sunny day socks. And adding to my list, are the two other colorways of that Heritage Wave yarn. So by the end of the year, I would like to knit him the two remaining pairs. I made a pair out of this yarn in a different colorway. I think it was either late last year or early this year. And he really loves them. He says they're really warm and soft. And I love working with this yarn. It is warm and soft. So coming up will be two more pairs, basically the same as those. I also recently, after I finished Walk Along isn't on any list. It kind of occurred after I'd done my second quarter list and before I did my third quarter list. And so Walk Along was indeed knit in 2020, but didn't factor into my 20 and 20 challenge. But I am knitting this called the Lounging Top by Locatelli. Just another lightweight wool, sort of short sleeved or capped sleeve in this case, or sleeveless top. This is being knit from Fleece Artist Merino Slim in the coral colorway. And I've done about an inch after joining the front and the back in the round. So it's just done up just to below my armhole there. Stockinette from here, so not exactly thrilling, but it's a cute little pattern. And I'm still needing to sit down, do a little math, and add some waist shaping into this one, which is why it hasn't been touched for a couple of weeks now. Another reason it hasn't been touched is because I've been working on a mystery knit along from Helen Stewart. I'm going to show this to you, so if you're participating in the Stillness Shawl mystery knit along and do not want to be spoiled, look away for a couple of minutes. I'm just going to show very quickly my progress of Clue 1 and Clue 2 on this shawl. So ready, go. So I am using Sweetgeorgia yarns, Tough Love Sock in Persimmon, I think. The green is pistachio, and then this is rainbow sprinkles. So very quickly, that's where a lot of my time has gone in the last couple of weeks. And I also have one other mystery knit along that I recently cast on. So again, if you do not want to be spoiled and you are participating in the very busy Monkey Sock Knitters Anonymous Mystery Sock, otherwise known as Destination Unknown, I'm going to show my progress on those. So I've completed Clue 1. I'm a huge Agatha Christie fan, and I really like Very Busy Monkey. Participated in a number of her knit-alongs before. In fact, I won this project bag from one of them. Very Busy Monkey project bag. So when I chose yarn, I went and grabbed my copy of Destination Unknown because the pattern is based on this book. And I looked for a yarn that kind of picked up some of those colors. So this is what inspired my yarn choice. And I'm knitting them concurrently, 2 at a time on 2 different needles, and I have finished Clue 1 on both. So I'll just show you the one. So Clue 2 comes out Wednesday, July 8th. Okay, you can look back, and finally, just take a look at my notes. Oh, after I finish my Sunny Day socks, my next skein of Fiber Knit Dye Works that I knit up is going to be Summer Fairy. That will be my next pair of stockinette socks, and this is on the bedazzled base, so it has some sparkle to it. Don't know if the camera's picking it up. But that is going to be the next stockinette socks that I cast on. So as of today, July 7th, I have 40 items on my to-do list. For the year, I have completed 13 finished projects from my list. So I am more than halfway there as far as my 20 in 20 goal. Whether I will get to 40 in 20 is doubtful, but what I like about this is it gives me some guidance as I move through the year. I can kind of set my sights on specific goals, and I find that does help me actually get projects finished. So I think for the third quarter, I'm really going to concentrate on finishing up some of these socks that I have cast on, and obviously working on the mystery knit-alongs. So I do not have any plans to cast on new things between now and I guess it would be October. Never say never, but my goal for this quarter is to focus on things that I already have on the needles, except for this, because I always need stockinette socks. So I think that concludes my second quarter 20 in 20 review. If you are interested, you can check out my regular podcast called A Stitch in Time podcast on the same YouTube channel. And I record most weeks and talk about mostly knitting, also sometimes, lately I've been doing some cross stitching, and sometimes I also like to do some sewing, mostly quilt as you go. So yes, if you're interested in checking out a new podcast, by all means, check it out. And if you like what you see, like and subscribe so that you will hit the notification button so you will get notified when there's a new episode. So thank you for watching today, and I will see you again very soon. Bye for now.